So for every day that passes, things become more strict when it comes to rules and laws in regards to electric bikes. And today's not going to be any different when it comes to that. I mean, California's trying to put something down the pipeline through the legislator to ban people from riding electric bikes without a license. Let's get into this. And as we do, comment below your thoughts. Whether it's an unpopular opinion or not, I want to hear it.
A new California bill could tighten the rules on electric bikes and make it illegal for people under a certain age to ride them.
Fox 5's Zara Barker is live in Encinitas, where a state of emergency is in effect over e-bikes.
State of emergency. Man, this has got to be something huge to have some type of state of emergency. Like around by me, they put a state of emergency in when we have like 8 or 9 inches of snow. I don't think I've ever heard of state of emergency other than that, and like a bunch of people coughing, back in like 2020, there's state of emergency in, and there's like a national emergency and all. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. They've really brought in this state of emergency thing into other avenues, such as electric bikes. Let's hear what she has to say.
Maria and Andrew, good evening to the both of you. Now, if this bill goes through as it is written right now, some e-bike riders would be required and mandated to take safety courses when it comes to riding or driving e-bikes.
So, before you've even had an e-bike, I'm sure you've ridden a regular bike. You know the rules of the road, not because you have a driver's license, but because you were taught to look both ways. And I'm assuming that that's what she's referring to. So when I was riding, back when I was a kid, we'd ride around the neighborhood. I think I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, and I was going out of the neighborhood to other people's neighborhoods where I would have to cross 2 lanes of traffic. But even though there was not many cars out on that road, there wasn't a shoulder. But I learned to look both ways several times before I went across the road. I was taught those things from my parents as I would walk across the road. So it was instilled in me to do that in other things. So with that being said, I think that's a little out there. Let's just hear what she has to say a little bit more.
It would also not allow anyone under the age of 12 to ride e-bikes.
I was under the age of 12. I'm sure a lot of you guys were too.
A bill making its way through the California legislature could crack down on e-bikers.
It's long overdue.
What do you guys think this guy does for a living? I mean, it doesn't even say who he is, right? No, it doesn't.
The bill is put into law. E-bike riders would be
required an online written test and state-issued ID for people without a license. So in my area, you have to be 18 or older to drive a car. It used to be 16. I mean, I got my permit when I was 15. Things have really changed. Established e-bike training program. I don't think it's any different than riding a regular bike on the road. I mean, when there's several lanes of traffic, there's usually a crosswalk, and most people ride with traffic and not against it, and not in the middle of the road. And usually if you're doing dumb things like that, you kind of have it coming. I mean, I'm going to say the truth right there. If you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. And I don't think people, like regular people, should have to suffer the consequences for people doing stupid things. So, like if there's a crosswalk within eye shot, I'm not the type of person so lazy. I'm not going to walk another 50 feet. No, I'm going to walk that 50 feet. Because then if I get hit by a car, I want there to be some type of camera on me or something to protect me down the road. But let's just listen. Prohibited people under the age of 12 years old, from riding e-bikes. Dude, I have 2 kids. One of them is like a daredevil beyond belief, which I absolutely love. And I plan on getting him, right now he's on like a Strider. I plan on getting him like one of those little Strider e-bikes because he loves sitting on mine, just like ripping it with me, obviously. We don't want to break any laws.
To take an online written test and get a state-issued ID if they don't have a license. This would also require e-bike training program and prohibit people under 12 from riding e-bikes.
You heard that though. You listen to that? That sounds kind of ridiculous. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments below. If you're with me, put it in the comments below. But don't argue amongst each other in like profane ways though.
It should probably be 16. I don't know.
Look, he don't even know. There's a lot of things you can do that I don't agree with right now, or they're allowing you to do. You know what's really funny? I'm going to try to go under the radar with this one. They let you change certain things about yourself, right? At 12 and under, but they won't let you ride an electric bike on the road. State of California. I'm not trying to play either side. I'm just pointing out the facts, letting them lie where they are, letting you judge and make your own decision.
I'm real.
Those kids don't look reckless. Dude looked like he looked back before he turned. to make sure nobody was coming.
For safety, I do want kids to be out and free and
Charlie's electric bikes. All right.
around on bikes and e-bikes and stuff and getting around, but there has to be safety involved in it.
And it's your duty, the parents, and as well as this guy Charlie, because I've sold bikes to people and they've never had an electric bike and they're like, oh yeah, this is great, it's gonna be my first electric bike. I'm like, hey, if you're not familiar, here, let me help you. Let me put you on zero. So it has no pedal assist at all, pedals like a traditional bike. And when you're ready, we will put it on level 1, level 2, level 3, and you'll understand how the cadence sensor or torque sensor, whatever it might be, propels you forward. So you're not really gonna have any issues. You feel that initial jolt and you're like, okay, that's not that bad. And then you understand how the bike feels. I mean, other than that, it's the exact same thing. Handbrakes, no biggie. Just check your PSI, make sure you check over your shoulder, put a couple mirrors on there, you're good to go.
I actually think it's really smart because recently a lot of people have been like getting in crashes and accidents.
Somebody coached this kid. I mean, look at this. They both have ProTech helmets on. I'm just saying, like, I look at things like this. Like, this kind of looks staged in a way.
I think it's a great idea because we're not going to see these e-bikes go away.
Nope.
And it'll just
I need to know. What do you guys think this guy does for a living? I don't know. I don't know. What do you think his name is?
be a reminder to everybody what the responsibility is.
Assemblymember Tasha Borner wrote the bill that's making its way through the legislature. She said in a statement, quote, as a mother and a legislator.
As a mother and a legislator, I believe we must act to prevent our youth from injuries. Our youth from injuries. All right. These are probably the same parents that like let their kids play football, do head-to-head combat like that. I grew up in an era where, like, dude, we were out just getting dirty, rough and tumble, literally riding bikes with no shoes on, right? And setting jumps up over each other. You know, we did some reckless stuff or would be considered reckless, you know. Now today's parents are like super helicopter and want to try to manipulate every little avenue for their kids. I let my kids like try to be as free as possible, knowing that like otherwise they're not going to find their way, period. I'm not saying like there's a big chance you're going to fall. I'm just going to let you fall. I'm going to be like, hey, here's what's going to happen. So when you're jumping, like I try to teach my son, hey, when you jump off this thing, don't land stiff leg. You could hurt your hip. You could hurt your leg. Try to land as if I threw, or if you threw an egg at me, I'm not going to just catch it. I'm going to absorb its impact. Try to absorb your impact with your legs, and then they better understand. I don't know. I kind of look down on this type of parenting. That's just my opinion. Don't hate me.
That we must act to prevent our youth from injuries and educate parents on the promise and responsibility of e-bikes.
And she's right. We should educate as parents the responsibility on the road, period. I don't think that other people should be reprimanded, as in like everybody should be required to get a license because somebody is reckless and riding in the middle of a shoulder or cutting between traffic. Like the kids on the wheelie bikes, I can understand how it feels to want to just cruise around and get your adrenaline pumping. But like those kids are like doing wheelies against traffic and like trying to do cuts and miss cars and then they get hit. I'm the person that's like, you kind of asked for it. But, you know, it is what it is.
And AB 530 is another step to increase their safety while sharing the road.
A lot of kids just ride.
Hold on a second there. I didn't see any. Let's look in the background real quick. Besides the Tesla. I'm looking in the background. I see a crosswalk that they're on. I see a very, very small shoulder. See if we see anything else. And no shoulder on that side. You know what that tells me? That they care about taking more money instead of putting more money into the infrastructure on widening the road and creating a bike lane that is safe for those people.
Recklessly, many of which don't have helmets on.
All these kids have had helmets on.
And it's concerning.
They definitely.
But I do agree that you should have to have a helmet on. Like, period, on a bike. I come from a BMX background, a lot of head injuries in this space, and I've had a couple really bad concussions. And one thing you cannot fix is your brain, period. You can set your bones left and right, but your brain you can't fix. Let's see what Charlie has to say.
Need to have.
Or maybe it's not Charlie, it's Nick, Charlie's Bike Shop, or is that a Nike shirt? I don't know. It's probably Charlie.
Training, some sort of formal state training.
Nico Sugius, owner of
Nico, okay.
Charlie's electric bike in Encinitas, says he's been pushing for more education. He only rents to riders 18 or over and recently stopped selling an e-bike typically made for younger kids.
is he trying to hint that he stopped selling Zoozes? So that style of a bike, yes, it's geared towards younger people. I wouldn't say kids, it's just younger people. I'd say probably like in their late 30s, mid 20s, because they come from like a BMX background. They're like gravitate towards it. They're like, oh wow, that's like a really cool looking bike. That's electric BMX bike. It's kind of a BMX bike. It's not. It's in between of a wheelie bike. It's not any different. And when it comes down to that type of stuff, I think that he's cutting his nose off spite his face. And at the end of the day, I think that when he's trying to sell bikes, he probably should focus on not trying to virtue signal, because that's what it looks like. Zeus, if you see this video, comment. I want to hear your thoughts.
Stop selling that bike because I didn't want to put youth out on the street.
Isn't that the point? We're supposed to get out on the streets. They're going to get out on the streets anyway. See, virtue signaling.
When they are required to know the rules of the road.
This also
Most people do know the rules of the road. You guys already know this.
Recent e-bike crashes throughout San Diego. Last month, a teenager died while riding an e-bike in Encinitas, prompting
That's really sad. My condolences.
an emergency declaration.
And this bill still has a long road ahead of it as it is working its way through the California legislature right now as we speak.
So if I find this bill, I'm going to try to find it, and I'm going to try to see if there's a petition going on against it. I'm going to put it in the description below. And everybody, if you see this video, vote against it, obviously. This is kind of ridiculous. What we should have is some type of petition to widen the infrastructure bill to allow people to stay safer on bikes on the road, right? Because that's the way it should be. And over the years, they used to have no shoulder, and then they widened the shoulder a little bit, and then they created bike lanes in most areas. And I mean, they're already giving you tax incentives for buying electric bikes. And if you don't believe that, you should definitely check your area. A lot of these bikes that people buy, if you keep the receipt and you put on your federal taxes, you can get a credit back. It's actually pretty interesting. So I don't know. It's just my 2 cents on that. So we already hear what they have to say. Let's see what Electric, they have an article on this. California wants to create driver's licenses for electric bikes. Driver's license for an electric bike. It could be coming soon to California, believe it or not. Yeah, I mean, Bill 530. So we're going to look that up, and I'm going to put that stuff in the description below for you guys to see. The move is in response to many young electric riders who often take the streets without having tested and received typical driver's licenses. You don't need a typical driver's license. That's the thing. So most of these are like class 1 through 3 electric bikes. Class 2, honestly, most of them are class 2, and they're going to have a top speed of around 20, 22, 25 miles per hour. And the majority of the people aren't going to be riding at 25 miles per hour everywhere because they want to be able to extend that range. So there's a big answer to all of this, and I don't think the answer is creating more restrictions for people that just want to have a bike, another way of getting to work, school, whatever it might be. But they'll do anything these days to make a quick buck. I'm going to link Electric's article here in the description below, as well as that video, in case you guys want to check it out. Check the comments. I'm not going to go to the comments, but they are pretty interesting. So with that being said, if you guys have any suggestions for future videos, put them in the comments below. If you guys like this video, drop a like. If you love it, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one.